Welcome everyone. In today's tutorial, we'll learn how to create and export backups using N3uron's REST API Server module. For demonstration, we'll use Postman as our API testing tool and follow the N3uron REST API Server documentation to structure our requests correctly. Let's review our server configuration. As you can see, we're using an HTTPS secured connection on TCP port 3443 bound to a specific network interface. Additionally, we'll be using embedded certificates for enhanced security. In this example, we authenticate with the REST API server using basic authorization by logging in as a user with the administrator role, which is granted full permissions and complete access to the tag model. Alternatively, you can choose token-based authorization. Since we're both creating and exporting backups, the administrator role must have get and post permissions on the backup endpoint. Before continuing, let's navigate to N3uron's Backup Manager, where all node backups are listed. In this case, no backups have been created yet. Now let's open the API documentation in our browser to check how the requests are formed. We'll begin with the Create Backup API call. Next, let's open Postman, where we've already configured a post request to create a backup. Let's quickly review the request details. We're using the HTTPS protocol, followed by the host IP address and port. The endpoint is backup, and the command is create. For authorization, we are using basic authorization for the admin user, along with its corresponding password. In the body of the request, we provide the parameters in JSON format, specifying the name of the backup and a metadata description for it. Next, let's verify our request against the REST API documentation to ensure it's properly structured. Since everything appears to be correct, let's send the request. Let's go back to the Backup Manager in N3uron to verify that the backup was successfully created. As you can see, the backup now appears in the list with the exact name provided, confirming that the backup was created successfully. Now let's move on to exporting the backup to our local computer using the Export Backup API call. This time, while the endpoint remains backup, the command changes to export. Be sure to include the name parameter that exactly matches the backup you want to export. The authorization method remains basic authorization. Let's refer to the API documentation once again to cross-check our request. Also note that the retrieved backup is provided as a zip file encoded in base 64. Now let's send the request, but instead of simply clicking send, this time choose send and download from the drop-down menu. As expected, a dialog window appears prompting you to choose a folder for saving the response. In this case, we're saving the file with a .zip.base64 extension to indicate that it's a zip file encoded in base 64. Once the file is saved, locate the file on your system. If you're using Windows, open a PowerShell terminal in that same folder and run the following command. Here, response.zip.base64 is the downloaded file, and backup-2025-04-07.zip will be the name of the resulting zip file. This command decodes the base 64 encoded response and produces the corresponding zip backup file. Now you can extract the zip file and verify that the configuration of your node was backed up successfully. That's it for this video. We invite you to explore our N3uron REST API Server documentation further. Inside, you'll find comprehensive details on server configuration, API calls, and examples to help you seamlessly integrate REST API Server with other services. Also, check out our Postman collections for API documentation and code samples in multiple programming languages. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.